We are back ahead of a big day in earnings for Tesla, Netflix, Goldman Sachs. A lot to talk about on today's show. Before we get going, hit that like button, subscribe to our channel. Nothing Kevin or I say is financial advice. We are not financial advisors. We're a few guys who love following the markets. So please do your own research for making any buys or sells. Randy, it's good to see you. Welcome to the show. Kev, we have about an hour until earnings come out for Tesla and Netflix. Those are the two big ones. We'll kind of discuss what the expectations are, on the numbers side of things, and also what we're looking to hear in the calls themselves that could move the price after the markets. Besides that, what has gotten your attention today? I know we discussed wheat has been on an absolute tear. If we're talking about commodity, we talked about commodities on the El Nino show. There's another one to add to it. That could be setting the stage for some more bad stuff this winter. Mr. House, good to see you as well. Kev, what else is on your mind as we start the show today?
Dude, there's so much. I mean, this is actually a pretty interesting day. Going into last night, I wasn't sure exactly. It seemed like kind of a quiet night, but us getting some of those numbers on wheat futures shooting up like crazy, 9%, just kind of gives us confidence that commodities might be seeing a bit of a spike up going into later this winter. I've been talking about China buying tons of liquid natural gas. Seems like there's a lot of things coming out of what's happening in Russia, China, that's kind of affecting the price of some of these assets. So definitely keep an eye on those. I think we're going to start seeing some of those tick up, not necessarily right away, but it's definitely a lot of things on the horizon that could push those up. So I'm keeping an eye on those. Keep an eye on XRP. We talked about yesterday how XRP dominance obviously was affecting Bitcoin's price. We're seeing it push up again. Dominance is it's a battle back and forth. And then, of course, number one today, Tesla and Netflix. It's going to be the most important thing. I think those are two of the big tech stocks. So Apple kicking ass today earlier on based off of pretty much just saying that they're doing ChatGPT for, iPhone users as well. But that's pretty much what's on the agenda for me going into later today. But Netflix and Tesla, that's going to be really exciting to see what they present.
Yeah, the green candle that was going after the Apple news was absolutely ridiculous.
Insane.
It retraced a little bit, but still trading high, closing out on a 3.31 or $3.1 trillion market cap. So that's
60 billion. 60 billion in that candle was added within like 10 minutes. Insane.
That's quite the candle. Some might call that a god candle. Anyway, let's talk about Tesla and Netflix because that has been the focus right now. Let's begin with Tesla. So the estimates on Wall Street are revenue for Q2 of 24.9 billion. That would be up almost 50% from last year. The concerns at this point are the margins, though, because we talked about, last month there was that news of how many deliveries they've made, almost 500,000 deliveries. But with them slashing prices, that's going to cut into the margins. We also saw that in Q1 they had lower margins, but that was a big portion of it due to putting $2 billion of capital expenditures into kind of revamping some of their facilities, making them a little bit more functional. So I think, maybe we saw the worst of the margin, downtick in Q1 of this year. What's going to really drive the price though today, obviously the numbers, but also the discussion around the Cybertruck. All eyes are on the Cybertruck right now. We saw over the weekend that there is the video of the first Cybertruck coming off the assembly line. There was some speculation that is purely like to drive hype heading into this and drive the stock price up. I mean, of course it is. Yeah. So people are going to be wondering, what is the price of it? Do we have the specs? Do we know when deliveries are going to happen? Do we know how many they're going to be able to produce a year? Back at the shareholders meeting in Texas, they said between 250,000 and 500,000 a year of production. Is that still the case? Have they lowered that number? Have they raised that number? Because right now there is this huge battle for electric pickup trucks. We saw that Ford is cutting the price of the Lightning. We saw that Jim Cramer is backing the Lightning, which means very bullish for Tesla. So that is what's really going to be, people are going to be listening to that today on this Tesla call. And I think that it'll be interesting to watch the charts as the call is going on, because as soon as they start talking about the Cybertruck, there's going to be volatility in the aftermarket hours, in their aftermarket price.
100%. Yeah. It's going to be, obviously Tesla's is one that we're keeping an eye on. Based off the charts and everything like that, Tesla necessarily has filled up all the gaps that were created on the downside to the upside. So I'm really interested to see how this volatility that comes from this earnings, we'll see it obviously in the futures, but how this is going to absolutely impact the price going into a lot of the, I guess, more of the move into towards, that 314 area that we were targeting. Uh, I don't necessarily, I know this is, we're looking at Tesla and everything like that, but Ford Lightning cutting prices, that didn't really do too well for Tesla when they slash prices too. That doesn't give me a lot of confidence as well. It seems like maybe that's because people aren't necessarily, they don't have as much money on hand. So that's something that I'm always keeping an eye on. I'm interested to see how Tesla actually does, because that'll give us a better idea of how the automotive industry, especially for electric vehicles, is doing too. But yeah, I don't know if we are buying into something that we're hoping is good, or we're just going to get pretty much expectations. We're going to meet them, and then that's all we're going to get, and then price is just going to keep rallying until something bad happens. But I think that Tesla could honestly go either way. Either it's extremely bullish, or it's just okay, we met expectations. Cybertruck's probably not going to come out to the next year or something like that. But yeah, I don't think that it's going to be as crazy as other people think. If they don't meet expectations, I think that would cause more volatility than anything. But I think that one's probably going to be closer to meeting expectations, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, the way that these numbers get manipulated, it's been very infrequent that people are coming in under expectations.
Right.
Granted, Goldman Sachs this morning wasn't exactly
some shit, right?
too good to look at. Yeah, they ate some serious shit.
Good for them.
They're struggling hard. They had already set the tone for that last week, though, right?
Exactly.
Hey,
they got ahead of it.
They got out ahead of that one. Meanwhile, Tesla was driving more hype into it with the video of the first Cybertruck, with the video of the Cybertruck engineers going to In-N-Out Burger out in California. That was a pretty funny one. But yeah, I think a lot, today with Tesla, and we can get into Netflix here in a second, the upside seems like it's so highly priced in already.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't. I'm sure there is room to go up, because there has been at every turn so far this year, when we didn't think there was more money to come to the markets, more money has been coming into the markets. And that could absolutely be the case again today. Maybe Tesla says that, hey, Q4 of this year, Cybertrucks are going to be, starting to get delivered. Maybe they say that production of, 500,000 to 750,000 is happening. There's a lot of things that they could absolutely say that would drive hype up even further. But let's go into Netflix now, because that is an area where so much is priced in.
Oh, yeah.
For Netflix, revenue estimates of $8.3 billion in Q2 of this year versus $7.97 billion of Q2 last year. The big thing that everyone's going to be looking at is going to be the number of net subscribers that they've added. The expectation is 2.1 million. This time last year, it was a loss of 970,000. And this is all coming down to the password sharing crackdown that happened in late May. That is all anyone is talking about, is how many subscribers have they added in total, what's the net add since that happened. So that's a big number that they're expecting, 2.1 million. I wouldn't be shocked if they came in over that. I've seen some estimates of 3 to 5 million, net additions, which would be pretty crazy in Q2. I mean, it was late May, so that's only going to give about a month, but it's possible. It is possible. If people wanted their Netflix, they're going to pay for it. The other thing that has been discussed a lot is this writer's strike that's happening in the U.S. and now the actors' strike as well, who joined the writers just within the last week, and who is best positioned to withstand that. And Netflix is one of the ones near the top of that list, due in large part to the fact that they already have a lot of content in production, and they also have a lot of work that's being done overseas. Someone pointed out today, the biggest show in Netflix history is Squid Games. That's not an American show, right? That was produced over in Korea. So there is still a lot of content that they could be delivering. They could, a big portion of their user base also is just watching stuff on repeat. They're watching movies that Netflix is able to get the rights to and put on from that standpoint. So due to the fact that they've been around longer and they have more content already made and in production that people love, they're better situated. You have some of these other streaming services that are still trying to get their original content off the ground. Apple's going to be fine. Apple TV isn't going anywhere, but they're going to struggle to add new people because a lot of their shows are only in 1, maybe 2 seasons.
Exactly.
So that's problematic for them. Yeah. So I think Netflix, I don't know what it's going to look like today on the earnings side, but the longer this strike goes on, the better it's going to be for Netflix.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, Netflix is such an international company to the point where, I mean, like you said, Squid Games, I've never seen a show, but it's the biggest show on Netflix of all time, right?
But you've seen the memes on Twitter because
Oh,
people
I
love
know.
using those.
I know the memes, absolutely. But yeah, I just never got into it. But yeah, I mean, their international section is massive. And again, the writer's strike is only an issue for those that are producing and writing, acting in films that are based in the United States that are, SAG or WGA certified. So yeah, definitely we're gonna start seeing, maybe we start seeing a lot of these older shows come back onto Netflix because you can always use those. I mean, how many people are watching Breaking Bad for the first time? How many people are going to go back and watch Malcolm in the Middle? Again, that's not just Netflix, that's Hulu. It's going to go back and forth for whatever. So those might see, an uptick, but going forward, 3, 4, 5 months out from here, might start seeing some issues for a lot of these other companies. Netflix most likely won't see that as bad. And again, I think that Netflix still has a little bit of room to the upside. We've been talking about that gap. I said $500 is where that gap ends, like 506, and we're at currently 480, literally 480 to the penny right now. So if it comes back pretty decent, I wouldn't be surprised if it shoots up $20 from here. It could go a little bit higher, sure, but at some point, I think that obviously, like you said with Tesla, it seems like the top's kind of priced in already. You can't go much higher. But again, what do I know? Fucking market's been going up since the beginning of the year. So definitely be cautious with that. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do see that. But this is also one that I think that is going to get hit at some point. Again, we saw that 0.5% retail sales as opposed to what we hit, which was 0.2 yesterday. It tells me that consumers aren't necessarily willing to spend as much as they once were. And we're going to keep seeing that.
But I think Netflix is kind of immune from that. Just do the standpoint. A couple things. Number one,
how many subscriptions?
It's a lot easier to not buy something than it is to cancel something. First off, number one,
sure.
When you have something like Netflix, that is what, like $13-15 a month, that provides you that much. Like, you got to think of like how much time people spend watching Netflix too, and like, are they more likely to stay home and watch Netflix than go out to a movie, which hardly anyone does anyways, but just bear with me here. Like, sure. That's going to be the choice that people make. Like, I think that with how low of a cost it is per month, people will choose to keep their Netflix and cut back in other areas because there is that value.
That's a good point. Yeah, but I think I'm paying like $20 a month or some shit for Netflix. I don't know. It's extremely high, but I mean, I don't even really watch Netflix. I'm still paying for it. Maybe I should just cancel my subscription. Help out the short in the industry. But yeah, at some point, I think that we are going to see some pullback, or we're just not going to see as many users added. I mean, how many people in this world have Netflix? Unless you're like breaking up with like your girlfriend or your wife or something like that, and you have to get your own Netflix subscription. I don't necessarily think there's going to be a place where, a lot of people who currently have Netflix are going to, branch out to getting another subscription. And again, I think some people are just like, yeah, I got so many subscriptions. Maybe I need this one. Maybe I don't need that one. Maybe Netflix is the one that everyone keeps. Who knows? But yeah, I think that a lot of this is, I am overpaying. Definitely. It's that 4K, man. But yeah, it's insane to think that I think Netflix goes up forever. I think there is going to be a cap at some point. And I think that consumer spending at some point is definitely going to play a factor in how much this company grows. I just don't think it's today. I think they'll be okay. I was kind of bearish going into it, but I see this chart and I'm like, gap's got to be filled, man. The technical analysis is what would speak to me more than the actual bearish mentality that I have. So maybe I'm a little bit early on that, but maybe a little bit more on Netflix, closer to that 506 level.
Yeah, I do think, and this is...
Oh, damn, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I do think at some point they will stop adding as many new users, but that's going to be accounted for in their earnings predictions, sure. Right? Like when they're giving forward guidance, they're not going to be able to expect 2 million net additions in a quarter, because right now this is just based off the password sharing stuff, right? So in the future, they don't need to add, a couple million a quarter. They could get by if their net addition is 250K, 500K, and they'll gradually increase prices as well until everything's $100 a month. But then the loaf of bread's gonna be $20, so does it really even matter? Anyway, that is everything on the Netflix and Tesla side that I had to talk about. Anything else there? We can spend a little bit of time on some of the charts if you want. Crypto has been just kind of boring. Like I don't. From what I've seen, there really isn't too much to discuss on the crypto side of things. Like things are just kind of, we're still in that range. We're just kind of chopping. There doesn't, we're kind of moving to oversold on some, or overbought on some stuff. Doesn't, I don't know. I'm kind of bored with crypto at the moment.
Oh, I love crypto right now. But we'll take a look at Netflix real quick because this gap is really important. Again, I was talking about us having to fill this one. This is a massive gap. This is what it dropped from there to right around here, actually. So that was about a 18% drop, 19% drop that we made back in, what was that, January 2022. We're currently filling it up on the other side. It was just due to the point that we have to fill this gap. And then once it's filled, I think that we might be more in a position likely to see a reversal. So Netflix being $480.69 right now, a great number. I think that that's probably going to be filled out by whatever the earnings are today. And then obviously we can start looking at seeing if some of these structures are in a position to make some corrections. Because again, we look at the daily on Netflix, that's 93 and 85. So it's going to be overbought fairly soon. Weekly is completely overbought at 199. And again, monthly, if we look at Netflix, it's completely overbought at 198. So these are extremely overbought times for some of these assets. And again, Netflix obviously is something that people do use, but at the same time, corrections do need to happen in this market. Can't just go up forever. And this is probably the clearest three-wave move I've seen. We got 5 waves here, 3 waves up. We're waiting for 5 waves to the downside. Where that lands, we're going to need to pretty much speculate on that once we get closer in the move, once we start making that move, because if it is impulsive, maybe it's a lot lower than we're anticipating. But I definitely think that we are going to come at least down significantly to the point where we're closer towards this bottom of this A wave that we put in back in, what was this? At June of 2022. Yeah, so keep an eye on that for Tesla. I do want to look at the DXY because recently this went back above 100. So that's pretty good news for the dollar, right? Obviously, there's no CPI data, no PCE data that's coming recently. So the dollar has some room to breathe. It can stretch its legs a little bit. I'm looking at this, came all the way down, all this stupid news, bounced right here off the 99.663. We wicked up to about 100.546. Yeah, we got rejected a little bit, coming back down. It's going to consolidate around here. That's the best thing for the dollar. Just get nice, good consolidation on this. Prove that this is supporting this channel. On the weekly, you need it. You need to just get oversold to the point where we're nice and oversold and we're finding support here. We found the, kiss the 200 EMA on the weekly. That's a good sign. It means that you're not going below it. It hasn't even tested below it. So if we can get some sideways action here, no data, no CPI, none of that stuff coming out, the dollar's going to do pretty good. Again, some of the stuff that will probably affect the dollar going forward is going to be probably, I'd say, Forex. You start seeing some currencies do better or worse. Obviously, that's going to impact the strength of the dollar. I always have that problem, man.
There you go.
The dollar. Yeah, so obviously that's going to impact the price. And I think a lot of people are counting that the dollar is done. Like everywhere you go on Twitter, it's just like the dollar's a shit coin. The dollar's going to lose everything. Buy Bitcoin. It's like, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? The dollar.
If RFK becomes president, the dollar's going to be backed by Bitcoin. So.
Exactly. You got to be bullish on the dollar because Bitcoin's going to protect.
And that's never gone wrong before.
No, not once.
No one has ever had like an algorithmic stablecoin backed by the Bitcoin that has ever gone tits up, right? That's never been a thing.
No, I heard RFK wants to put Do Kwon as Secretary of the Treasury too. SBF's going to be the new Fed chairman, and his vice president's going to be Alex Mashinsky. So I'm really excited for the RFK junior presidency. Do push-ups before every speech. It'd be amazing. But definitely,
dude, he's going to be at the State of the Union, like bench pressing and then talking about how like there's no more capital gains on crypto anymore. Like I am all in on the RFK presidency. Like I want my president to be just shot up on steroids, like he's fucking heading out to Mr. Olympia. It's gonna be fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, this dude's eating protein cookies for breakfast. This is the kind of guy you need. No, but all jokes aside, obviously the dollar being backed by Bitcoin just seems stupid to me. I'm sorry. But I do think that, obviously offering capital gains free Bitcoin transactions, hey man, I'm all for that. But again, I probably won't even vote going into this. I'm here to make money. Whoever's here, I'm just going to take advantage of the system the best I can, make the smart plays, and then get the fuck out. But yeah, I definitely think that the dollar is not done with yet. I remain so bullish on this. I think a lot of people are really hoping that this is it, that the Fed's going to pivot, the dollar's going to sink, assets are going to go up. I don't see that I don't. I'm sorry. And if we see something crazy like, you and I were talking a little bit about the housing market prior to this show, I wouldn't be surprised if the dollar just starts taking off at that point too. Again, these assets are extremely over frothy, I think, in a lot of markets, and pretty soon there is going to be some type of correction. When that happens, I expect it to be big, and I expect a lot of people, very similar to what they did in 2008 when Lehman Brothers went under. They started buying treasuries, bonds, and they started, putting all their money in cash, and they started withdrawing it from banks. I wouldn't be surprised if something similar happened like that if we do get some type of bad news for one of these markets. So dollar still staying bullish on, doing good. Just stay over here
Also,
consolidating.
to that point too, with like the Fed. So next FOMC is actually a week from today. We'll be hearing Powell wrap up his talk, and we'll go live after that. But right now they have it priced at like a 99.8% chance to raising 25 basis points. It's all but assured. The markets still haven't priced in the fact that every Fed chair, and even on the dot plot, if you don't know what the dot plot is, when the Fed minutes come out, it shows what terminal rate each voting member of the Fed thinks that they're going to have to go to. And that number has kept creeping up, like to, 5.5 to 5.75%, even potentially 6%. And the markets haven't priced that in at all. Like, I'm looking at the probabilities as we speak. And right now it's looking like, a 25% chance that the market has priced in a 25% chance that the Fed has to do more than one additional rate hike. And I don't think that's the case. I think we've seen, everyone wants to, once again, I'm going to keep beating this over the head because everyone's like, oh, the core inflation is coming down, or CPI is coming down.
Yeah.
Core inflation isn't. And we're seeing the same problem in the UK, by the way. Like the inflation numbers for the UK came in, spitting image of what's happening over here. The headline number came in under 3%, but the core number is still just glued in place. And so we're absolutely going to see the dollar move up, and the markets are going to have to react if we continue to get this shitty core inflation numbers. And I think Powell next week is going to come out and they're going to raise the 25, but I think he's going to be extremely hawkish. I think he is going to be I think he's going to make it very clear that, hey, just because the headline number is showing 3% doesn't mean that the job's done when it comes to raising rates. So I think that is going to positively impact the dollar and negatively impact equities. But, who the fuck knows anymore?
It's really good for the dollar going up. Commodities going up, especially energy, right? It's going to be it'd be really interesting to see how that impacts inflation, because if that goes up, a lot of people won't be in risk assets. I think they'll be moving to the dollar.
And what's going to be so fucking funny? When inflation goes up again, because
it will.
If we see with energy, if we see energy prices going up, like oil is going to go up, price of wheat going up, so food's going to go up. We know that the headline number doesn't, that includes energy and food, and everyone's praising that headline number now. But as soon as it goes up on the news, they're gonna be like, oh, well, the headline number doesn't really matter as much because it's volatile due to food energy. It's like they're just gonna spin this narrative however fucking way they want to.
Oh yeah,
it's absolutely infuriating. But we just need to stay ahead of it and be aware of what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, again, think macro. I think that's the most important thing. When you see stuff like this happen, like obviously wheat going up 9% just based off of talks of Russian ships going across the Black Sea or going towards Ukraine. Obviously, that's going to be part of a play that's going to happen later. Maybe you get ahead of it. I don't know. I'm not telling you what to do. I know what my plays are, but I'm definitely anticipating that it's going to be a pretty expensive winter, if you know what I'm saying. But yeah, so I want to move into XRP now, just because XRP has been an absolute piss missile for the past week. It's insane to look at dominance right now. The dominance is creeping up to where it was.
People don't know that the P in XRP actually stands for piss missile.
Extra piss. I don't know what the D stands for.
Extra piss missile.
Yeah.
Extra
All right, let's
go
for it. Yeah, so XRP right here, obviously this is the dominance level. This isn't the price itself, but it's up 12.15% today. And if we look at Bitcoin dominance, obviously we've taken a pretty good leg down. And again, I've been tweeting about this. I said that we need to reclaim 52% if we want to see Bitcoin dominance rise. We've seen this before in the past where, it comes down and then it bounces up. We looked at it yesterday's episode. But if we look at this right here, I said that 49 around there. We have to find the bottom at some point. And the reason we're not finding that bottom is because of XRP dominance. So many people are moving into the stable coin, and it's a three-way battle, in my opinion, between Bitcoin dominance, XRP dominance, and USDT dominance. XRP dominance was about 1.75% lower where it was prior to the news coming out that it's the partial victory that everyone's cheering about, that it's not a security. And because of that, that's taking away dominance from Bitcoin and also USDT. USDT has actually done pretty well rebounding from where it was. But for the most part, we could see that this is definitely taking away dominance from Bitcoin. Now, the question is, if we look at XRP by itself in the trading pairs, we can see a lot of things that are going on. We can see that keep shooting up, right? It's at 83 cents right now, which is pretty insane. And if we look at this on the smaller time frames, we'll go to the 4-hourly because we can see the parallel channel that it's in a little bit better. We can see that it is nearing the top. Let me just get this right there. I mean, it's almost to the T. We got rejected. We went a little bit higher. We got rejected. I'm not surprised that we bounced up from here. If we look at this on like the daily, because we're putting in lower lows and lower highs, obviously came down. Now we're shooting up to where we are now. But on the 4-hourly, we're overbought. If we look at the hourly, we're going to be overbought most likely. Yep, there we are. If we look at the daily, we're overbought. And if we look at the weekly, we're going to be pretty overbought, I'm pretty sure, by the end of this week. Again, you can't not say that we're overbought getting into these levels. Obviously, we need to wait till Sunday to get this final close. But we're getting to an extremely overbought level, and we got there extremely fast, right? Like, this is 2 weeks worth of data. I mean, not even, it's like 1 week worth of data. We got the news last Thursday. Today's Wednesday. So even 6 days by the time it's Sunday night, you got like maybe 10, 11 days of data where this has shot the price up. That's not necessarily sustainable. And again, we're putting in a parallel channel here on the daily. It's going to break down at some point. I think a lot of people are really bullish on this and they're really excited. This is no different to me than, the AI bubble. A lot of people want to be early on things. They expect something to do great. Maybe XRP does do great. I'm bullish on XRP, but not at these levels. AI, I'm bullish on, but not at these levels. Again, I think people are just want to be part of something that's going to take off, and maybe it gets to the point where Apple's worth $6 trillion market cap at some point because they competed with ChatGPT and created their own Bing AI, whatever the fuck they're doing. But for the most, it's the same shit all across the board. We're just it's just different flavors. So it's really dumb to be seeing this. And again, we're at such a high point in the move that I don't necessarily think that people realize that even though it could go up a lot more, it's more likely that it could go down a lot faster. Again, I think people, when we see that Bitcoin was down 77% to the FTX lows, it's like, oh no, Bitcoin couldn't go down another 50%. It's already been down 77%. What the fuck are you talking about? It could go down 50% of the move that it currently is at. It could go down to 9K. But yeah, right now when I'm looking at this, I think XRP is extremely frothy. Look, again, we just put another cent up. We're at 84 cents, 8.3% on the day. I think there is going to be some type of move to the downside. We're going to break down. I think the monthly, if we get it closed below this parallel channel on the monthly, that's definitely going to help out Bitcoin dominance because, hey, how much of that market cap is going to disappear if we drop 24 cents? I'm not saying it's going to drop 24 cents really fast. However, we did shoot up fairly fast, so maybe it is going to be a volatile market reaction where we push down. But if XRP was wanted that bad, it'd probably be trading a lot higher, I think, in my opinion. I think it'd be closer to that 94, maybe $1. Could it make a move to it? Sure. But I think that this is the thing that's holding Bitcoin back right now, at least in dominance and hurting alts. So once we start to see Bitcoin dominance creep up from this 49% level back to towards like that 51, 52, I think we're going to start seeing XRP dump a lot more. And if we look at some of the other altcoins, they're not doing necessarily that great, but they're also not doing terrible because dominance is coming down. So maybe some of those trading pairs are doing okay thanks to XRP. So XRP might just be one of those, I wouldn't say flash in the pan things that, affect the market for a short period of time, but I do think that it's definitely making a pretty good impact on the market right now for crypto. It's also why we're starting to see some boring price action across Bitcoin because everyone's really excited about the shiny new kid on the block that you can finally buy in Coinbase, but not necessarily the one that's going to be RFK's entire running platform. So that's what I'm saying with Bitcoin and XRP. I do want to pull up BNB because if you've been keeping up with CZ on Twitter,
what is happening right there?
The end. No, I'm just kidding. But there's a lot of shit going on here. And I'm just trying to chart this pattern because it's pretty clear cut for me. I'm trying to see where the C wave pattern is within here, but I'm going to clear this up so we don't have to worry about any of this.
Nothing about what I'm looking at right now is clear cut, Kevin.
Yeah, well, it's clear cut to me. So that's as long as I know what's going on, and if you're not
That's
getting
all that
manipulated.
matters.
Exactly. So my main thing was just trying to find where this three-wave correction starts, whether it's down here, which I think it is. I think it's down here. Maybe we have a little bit of room to the upside. This is on the 4 hourly. I thought maybe we get rejected at the 50 moving average on the 4 hourly. There's going to be some type of correction. I think there's going to be a massive move to the downside. We can see on the daily that it's going down, but however, today is a pretty green day for BNB, so keep an eye on that. But the reason I brought up BNB is because recently they had their quarterly burn, and their quarterly burn this time around for Q2 just ended, burned about 1,991 BNB tokens. Oh no, my bad. What is that? 1,991,854 billion BNB tokens. If I'm being stupid. I don't know how to read numbers. There's too many commas there. But it's a here. I'll just share it on the screen because it's a better look at what we're seeing. Just get rid of this. My brain's fried from all these numbers that I've just been eating for the past 3 years of my life. Yeah, this is the quarterly burn for BNB. We can see that this is how much they burned. That's 1,991,854,000.33 BNB that was burned. It's about $619,443,674. That's a lot of money, right? That's no small amount of change. But again, BNB's being burned. Does that mean that the price goes up because now there's lower supply? Is this a dirty trick that we're doing to keep the price up at some point? Maybe because we don't have a stable coin at our disposal. We can see some of the quarterly burn from the expected going into Q3 of this year right next to it, and it's about 2,100,000 that we're expected to burn. Right now, that's based off the price of $243.69. This was based off $310. We could see that there's a lot of money that was moving from BNB wallets yesterday, and CZ made a pretty interesting thing on Twitter. What he said, let me pull it up real quick. And again, I'm not trying to FUD this guy, but yesterday I did say that I didn't anticipate too much based off those funding rates because it was kind of, average. But what this guy said is very similar to something that SBF said a while back. And again, this was brought to my attention by, I know, one of the most controversial people on Twitter, Capo, who a lot of people hate or they love him. I think the guy has just got balls. He's got conviction. He's not willing to, surrender to anyone. But this is what, here it is. The quarterly BNB burn is done. According to the public algorithm, I was told there will be some more on-chain large transactions shortly to further spread the coins to more addresses. Nothing to be alarmed about. And then hands together, either a high five or a prayer. I don't know. Maybe he's praying that no one finds out what he's doing. But it was like 33 million coins were moved from personal wallet to BNB. So now it's 29 to 33, the net ratio for BNB tokens. That's no small amount of change. It's very similar to what SBF did, saying, don't be alarmed. There's a lot of money that's going to be moving around from wallet to wallet. It's just something that we do from time to time.
Everything's fine.
It's pretty much the same
like
exact.
The dog in the house with the flames. Everything's fine.
Yeah, it's just, it's fishy as fuck. Let's be honest, right? I showed you the site yesterday of True USD. I'm not going to be fudding CZ all the time, but it's just a good thing to keep an eye on because, hey man, that's a lot of money that's moving out of nowhere. They said that they're burning tokens. That means that they're artificially keeping the supply up. Yep, I agree, Ace. Doesn't mean that I'm right though, right? I could be dead wrong about this, and the price could still go down just because everyone feels that way. But for the most part, there's a lot of stuff that he was accusing SBF of that we're now starting to see, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Obviously, I expect the price to go down a lot more. But maybe this is part of the reason why we were seeing some of that negative funding rates. It wasn't a crazy amount by any means, but it was enough where it's like, okay, someone's definitely adding shorts here. Maybe it's someone who's had positions from a lot higher. But I don't like to see, burning supply price to keep the price up. And then there's a lot of interesting stuff if you do a little research. Absolutely, dude. There's a lot that you can be finding out, but definitely keep an eye on BNB. I think that is going to see a move to the downside on the macro at some point, whether it is completely overbought or completely oversold. I think that this one's going to move faster off news. So something I think is coming. What it is, I don't know, but there just seems to be a lot of stuff that's very suspicious right now, and I'm not necessarily safe if I'm going to be holding BNB. If I was holding BNB, I would not be happy right now. I'd be kind of scared.
Okay. I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for today. About 26 minutes left in the trading day. Quarterly earnings should be coming out for Tesla and Netflix right after that. They've seen a little move up here in the last hour of the day. Netflix over 481 at this point. Looking forward to going through all of that. We'll discuss it again on tomorrow's show. So please come back, same time, same place. If you have not yet, hit some buttons down below for us. A like, a comment, subscribe, share us on social media. All of those things help a shit ton. So thank you, everybody, for watching. Have an awesome rest of your day. We will see you next time.
Take care, everyone.